All right, guys, your crazy coach, Lady Amanda Trombley here, and as always, you are here. I am here to talk about unleashing emotional freedom and redefining madness. It's all solutions and it's all transformation. Without further ado, let's jump right into today's topic of stepping into our magical lives. Today, we're going to cover 5 points. Number 1, the requirement of gratitude. Number 2, the universal laws and your responsibility to conscious awareness. Number 3, the path of the righteous, you through spiritual awakening and mental rebirth. 4, transcending the mind, body, and soul evolution. And lastly, 5, unleashing emotional freedom through and living without limits. We have a lot to cover. There's a lot of topics here. I'm going to give you quick tricks to really reposition yourself on every single last one of these topics. And my allergies are through the roof with right now, so bear with me and let's jump right into it. Point number 1, if we are going to step into our magical lives, we must first become aware and present to the requirement of gratitude in our every single day living. If we live by a means that requires abundance in order to feel abundance, we've locked ourselves away from actually receiving any of what we truly desire. When we look at our lives and our positioning, we need to be extraordinarily seriously grateful for exactly where we are at. It does not matter what side of the tracks you come from. You must be able to account not only for moments of gratitude, but an entire lifestyle of gratitude in order to begin to step into the process of living magical. So, this is in all things. We must remain grateful in all things. Let me be the first to tell you that I have, through the seasons of my life, experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And so I know how difficult that this requirement can be. But a quick trip when it comes to looking at our areas of our lives financially, physically, emotional, and spiritually, and the requirement of gratitude that we need to put in place here is looking at the exact opposite. Looking at what we have and telling ourselves that this can always be worse. This idea of allowing ourselves to see how things can always be worse allows ourselves to be positioned in a spot where we are extraordinarily grateful for what we are facing in this moment. If your lights are shut off, you could not have food. If you are homeless, you could not have all your limbs. If your children's behavior is absolutely out of control, you could not have these children in the first place. If your business is suffering or failing, you could have not had the inspiration to have that business in the first place, to grow this business. If your mental health is in serious decline and you are failing in all areas emotionally and mentally, you could be in an institution. In each and every single area of your life, you could have it worse than you currently have it. And so you need to look at the areas of your life where you're at, where you're not living in a constant state of gratitude, and look at how bad it could be and how really, really, truly special you have it. In order to step into a point of living magical in our lives, we must submit to the requirement of the universal law that we are to remain grateful despite our circumstances, because number 1, it could always be worse, and number 2, we have it pretty damn sweet here in our positioning. Moving right along to our second point, point number 2, if we are going to step into our magical lives, we must take responsibility of the universal laws that exist all around us and call ourselves to our own attention of conscious awareness. Now, these are a lot of big words, so what does this mean? There's multiple universal laws, both in the physical state and in the mindset state. If you're looking at some of the mindset states of universal laws, you could pull into attention something like karma. You reap what you sow, you give what you get. Or you could look at something like the law of attraction, which states that we attract energies, both physical and emotional, through our focus points and our thoughts. Or you can break this down much more simply to the physical standpoint of our universe, that we are tilted, that we spin, that we move around, that the universe itself is always in constant motion, that if the universe itself were to hit a point where it wasn't in motion, where it wasn't in growth, then it would disappear, then it would fall off, then it would be ruined. That if we are not in growth, then we are in decline. That we as a universe are always in motion. And so whichever way that you want to look at it, you have to become aware that there are universal truths that you are a part of because you live in the universe. And to deny this existence is to set yourself apart from actually being a part of the conscious collective. Ignorance doesn't serve us here. Ignorance is not bliss here. If we deny ourselves the reality that these universal laws exist all around us, and because of their truth and our standing in the universe, we are naturally a part of us, we such move ourselves away from the bigger and the better. We such move ourselves away from our highest calling. It is only within this awareness that you can step into the path of the righteous and begin to undergo the spiritual awakening that we will move forward in talking about. So a quick trick to open yourself up to the responsibility of the conscious awareness to the universal laws is to simply slow your mind and settle upon one truth that you have carried with you throughout your life. This truth must not only speak to your own individual path, but holds true to the conscious collective, the whole, all of us as it goes, and will stand the test of time. When you call attention to, when you follow this quick trick and you become the opposite of ignorance, when you become woke or aware to the conscious and consciously aware to this universal law that proceeds not only in your life but in all of our lives, we begin to step into living magical and living in alignment with this universal law. Moving on, point number 3. Again, we have a lot to cover, so let's jump right into it. If you want to step into living a magical life, you must submit to your own individual weight as a path of the righteous. That means that you must own up to exactly your own individual path that only you can take, that is for a bigger calling than you can even dream of. And the only way to really reach in and get through this is through means of spiritual awakening and a mental rebirth. Now, spiritual awakening and mental rebirth are all one and the same, but each of it holds different weights per individual based off of our individual knowledge, our individual crises and sacrifices in life, and our individual ability to both thrive and inability to thrive. When it comes to spiritual awakening, it is basically what we've spoken about thus far, that awakening to the path that is a calling that is larger than life, one that is selfish at its core, but seeks the masses, no doubt. This is the transcending nature of a person that seeks not only to please themselves, but to expand their mind on a playing field, one that to us makes little sense because it is incomprehensible to any man's knowledge, but that places itself within the exact positioning to actually change the world. It is the ultimate sacrifice of leaving what you think at your bedside and journeying into something beyond your wildest dreams. It is an awakening and therefore a process. So not something that is done overnight, but something that lasts beyond the timeline of your own physical life form. Now, when it comes to mental rebirth, this falls exactly in the same line here as well, but it is opening up to the life philosophies that you have thus far lived by and stopping at nothing to rewrite the story for your own personal generation and those to come. It is the action steps behind the journey that takes you through the recoding of your fundamental processings that move you away from who you were and how you got there, and position you in a place to where you are attached to growth, to new philosophy of who you are becoming and how you are going to get there. So a quick trick here to submit to the righteous path and move along through spiritual awakening and mental rebirth is to look at your emotional life, to look at your physical life, and to look at your spiritual life and announce exactly what it is that you want in each and every element. And then to create 3 action points on each element that speak both to the nature of physical action and spiritual evolution. All right. Point number 4, we are getting through all of this. I told you guys this was going to be a lot of information delivered all at once, so let's keep on going. In order to step into living a magical life, you absolutely must be committed to transcending the mind, body, and soul evolution that is within you. What does this mean? Again, as is the theme here, this is the commitment to growth. But this first begins with recognizing that you are not just a body, not just a mind, and not just a soul. But instead that you are the accumulation of the perfect trio, the perfect connection between all of this. If you aim for growth, if your desire is to live magical, leaving any one part of this out of the equation will immediately block you from living in your highest calling, which is that of pure magic and pure pleasure. We must be focused on the evolution that takes us from our current recognition of who we are to an evolving recognition that we are beyond our own imagination, as we are the accumulation of a perfect symmetry of mind, body, and soul. We all have desires to have this or that in our lives, to achieve greatness in one element, to get physically fit, to live without limits, to live spiritually free, to unleash emotional freedom, to have financial success, etc., etc. We all have these individual goals in our lives, but we will continue to fall short in any one area until we understand the complex that in order to have it all, we must be it all. Your physical fitness goals are dependent. If your physical fitness goals are only dependent on your fitness, you will not achieve greatness in this area. Your physical fitness goals are dependent upon your mind, body, and soul connection, as is your financial goals. Your emotional well-being goals are not solely dependent on your mind, but they are dependent on your mind, body, and soul connection. You cannot live limitless without first recognizing this connection and its attachment to evolution, to a constant state of evolution. The quick trick here is to immediately position yourself into this mind, body, and soul connection, is to not set a goal that can only be met by physical body means, by emotional mind means, or by spiritual soul means. When identifying our goals, if they do not allow aligned action steps in all three realms, remove your mind from them and call yourself to a higher aspiration that requires total connection within your dedication to mind, body, and soul. And lastly, last but not least, number 5, in order to live purely magical, you must unleash emotional freedom and begin to live without limits. If you have followed steps 1 through 4 thus far, you are already well on your way to making this a possibility for your life. But we must commit to going the extra mile. When it comes to unleashing emotional freedom, we cannot reach towards this if we are staying locked in the fears of our past, as this denies us the existence of freedom. Emotional freedom is not living in the presence without scars, but instead allowing ourselves to be positioned higher because of those scars and the opportunity that they present themselves in our lives. So quick trip here is to stop running from yourself. The inner child healing the anxiety, the trauma, or the depression that's been existing in you for oh so long, either conscious to your awareness or not, is blocking you from living emotionally free. And you must run towards it in order to transcend it. So get inside of it, ask for help, and commit to living a life that absolutely has you committed to taking the steps to live emotionally free. Now, when it comes to living without limits, our very last topic for this video, we have to start having some fun, you guys. Let go of the notion that you are too busy, too broke, too old, or too broken to have fun, and start seeking pleasure in every single moment of your life. You are never too old to run through a sprinkler, dance in the rain, rock out butt-ass naked, color, paint, play. You are never too old, too broken, too broke, too none of this to be participating in pleasure in our every single day lives. Your life will never be limitless if you are limiting yourself in the areas of pleasure. And guys, I assure you, if you commit to these 5 principles, you will step into magical alignment in your life. You will live with growth, and you will become limitless. That's all I got for this topic on growth and all things magical living. Join me next time for more of the goods.